Hey guys, welcome back to Embrace by Life. I'm your host Lisa, sharing with you our early retirement journey for myself, my husband Frank, and our dog Buddy. So as you all know, we've moved to Spain, but I'm still on some Facebook groups for folks that are prepping for their early retirement and move to Spain. So a question came up on one of the Facebook groups. How do you create a checklist for selling your home and moving to Spain? Now, they didn't want anything specific to the NLV visa, and I've covered that on other videos. So we're going to focus more on prepping to sell your home and to move to Spain. However, part of that journey is understanding whether or not you need the funds of your house sale to actually move to Spain. So if you need to sell your home in order to get your visa to move to Spain, it does become a little bit more problematic in my opinion, because you need to sell your house before you go for your NLV visa appointment. So let's assume here that you don't need the funds of your house sale to satisfy the requirements for your visa, which was the case for us. We were able to show enough savings in order to satisfy the requirements for our visa, so we didn't have to have our house sold before our visa appointment. I've got some notes here, so just bear with me as I go through all of this. So let's talk first about the checklist items. Is first the timing of your sale. So it's really hard to time this because you don't know when you're going to get offers. I would suggest listing your home as early as possible. We found when we listed our home in June that it may have been a little bit too late. Our appointment for our visa was in August, and we didn't close on our sale in New Jersey until November. So timing is a key factor here. I would say you want to list your home in the early spring is pretty common. So wished we had have probably listed our house in April, but we didn't list it till June. Along with that, though, you have to be prepared for living in temporary housing in the US while you're waiting for your visa and your move to Spain. So luckily for us, the stars kind of aligned, and we were frustrated at first. If you go back and look at some of our videos, we were upset and frustrated that our house didn't sell quickly, but it actually worked out for us. We closed on our house in November, we got our visas and moved here to Spain, only having a couple weeks in between where we had to have temporary housing. So you have to prepare, if you sell your house fast, for finding some temporary housing and being okay with that. We thought we'd be okay with it, but quite frankly, now that we're in Spain, living in temporary housing here, what will be probably 4 months at least, we realized it worked out better for us that we didn't have temporary housing in the US, because it does get a bit daunting, and maybe other folks can prepare for that and be in better shape than we are, but we just didn't prepare ourselves well enough for that. So you just can't time the sale of your house, but you can try to time it in the sense that you don't have too much time spent in temporary housing waiting for your visas. So that's the first checklist item, is to figure out the timing of the sale. And then you want to figure out what you want to keep and what you want to sell. So do that early on. I would suggest doing that before you sell your house. You may want to keep some stuff in your home like we did to stage it. But we had a checklist and we knew what we were keeping and what we were going to get rid of, and the timing of what we needed to offload once we had an offer on our home and gearing up for closing. I would say just plan on getting your visas. For us, we were a little panicked, worrying that we may not get our visa. So we didn't know if we should store some stuff temporarily pending the outcome of our visa. I would say just go into it positive, assuming that you're going to get your visa. But the second thing you need to think about is, are you really going to love Spain long term? For us, we assumed we would. We assumed we'd get on the ground and find a place to live. That hasn't necessarily been the case. We did get rid of all of our major items from our home. In retrospect, maybe we should have kept a few items in storage, waiting for the outcome of whether we'd stay here long term or not. Those things are now gone. So if you are not 1,000% sure that you will find a place to live permanently in Spain and will stay here long term, meaning over a year or two, you might want to store some stuff in storage just as a precaution, and then you can always go back and sell it later. That's a decision that you have to make. Assuming you want to keep some stuff like we did, you need to hire a moving company, so you need to gear up for that. We found our moving company in April, and we were ready to give them a list of everything by the time that they had to come and pick stuff up in November. But we geared up for that pretty early. So you want to get a moving company in place, gear up, and get a list going of everything that you know that you want to bring with you. For us, it was a lot of tools, things that we didn't have to worry about in terms of the electrical capacities. It was more hand tools that don't require electric batteries and stuff. A few we did keep that require the electric batteries that we can convert here in Spain. And then some sentimental objects we kept. We have all those boxes still sitting in New Jersey with the moving company waiting to ship to us once we have a place that we can make our home and where they're going to ship it to. But you want to gear up with a really good moving company and have that prepared. You probably don't want to bring too many pots and pans. Depends on what type of stove you're going to have here. We did actually store quite a few pots and pans. In retrospect, I'm not sure we really should have, because I'm not sure that they'll work here on the electric stovetops. But if we do find our home, we might convert to gas, which is what we love to cook on. So we'll see how that goes. But some really large items you just want to may rethink. It may cost more to send them than to purchase new. And in terms of a car, you probably don't want to ship your car. You have to make sure once it gets here that it passes all the emissions tests and that it's converted properly. So yeah, limit it to sentimental and just items that you think you will need when you get it into Spain. And you want to start early, right? You want to start unloading, go through your closets, get rid of stuff. Facebook Marketplace, quite frankly, just didn't work out for me. We ended up doing quite a few yard sales, and we donated some stuff, and then we sold some stuff on Craigslist. That seems to be a big place to post for yard sales and stuff, is Craigslist. And we posted some stuff for sale on eBay. We sold quite a bit of stuff on eBay. So if you plan ahead, you can sell stuff on eBay and take your time with that. The other thing you need to prep for is the emotional toll of getting rid of a lot of sentimental stuff and things that you've acquired over the years. So prepare for that, because it is a journey, an emotional journey of getting rid of some things that you worked hard to buy and that you're afraid you may not be able to buy again here in Spain. It's just part of the journey. You have to let it go and realize that, you know, there's better things ahead. And then you have to prepare for stop working. So if you're early retiring, you need to understand the timing of when you stop working. Depends on your consulate. So for New York City, we had to show that we stopped working before we went for our visa application appointment. Some consulates, I believe, will allow you to show proof that you've already resigned, but you haven't stopped working yet. But in my honest opinion, if you can afford to, try to stop working as you're selling your home, because you need that time to show it. You want to get as many buyers in as possible. You want to be available to show it as much as you can. And yeah, it's just a journey trying to get rid of everything and figure it all out. So that's another checklist item, is the timing of your early retirement. And then you need to start a checklist for where you're going to move to. So in our opinion, if you can afford it, buy something ahead of time if you're looking to buy. If you're looking to rent, be prepared for having a little bit of a headache finding a long-term rental. It is not that easy. Here in Spain, there's a very few long-term rentals. I have a separate video on that. So the biggest thing is not worrying so much about your checklist of moving. Worry about when you're here, where are you going to live? And are you prepared to live in short-term rentals while you find that place? For us, it's been extremely daunting. It's been absolutely exhausting. I feel like we've been at this whole thing for over a year now, from the start of us planning to sell our home and move and traveling here and retiring and figuring out where we were going to go, still looking for a house to buy. You have to really be prepared for that. It is exciting here and there, but once we get settled into a home, I think we'll feel so much better. Hopefully we find one soon. But that's another big thing to be prepared for. And be prepared that a lot of homes may be furnished or unfurnished. A lot of come here furnished, but it may not be to your taste. But if you're in a short-term rental, you know, get it furnished already, and then hopefully find something long-term where you can buy what you want to your taste. And just make sure you're serious about staying. This is a huge undertaking. For us, we came into this 1,000% serious of coming here and staying. We wouldn't have given up all of our stuff if we weren't all in. And now that we're here, and can't find a place to live, we're afraid that we may not be able to stay long term if we don't find a place to live and to buy, because that's part of our early retirement strategy, is to buy something. So yeah, you need to be all in, but at the same time be realistic that things can go any way and you may not find something. And now we wish probably we had kept a few things in long-term storage, and maybe hadn't sold some certain belongings that we had that we'll never get back again. But listen, it's what we did. It's just a watch out. So sharing that, and bring a lot of patience. Yep, plan for that. Big checklist item, patience. Not being able to control the timing of everything. And then obviously big checklist is being prepared for being on the ground. Now's the time to start planning for, once you get to Spain, what paperwork you need. Once you get settled in, it's a whole month or two of just getting your paperwork ready and having everything that you need. Eventually you'll need to also get a driver's license if you're coming from the US, so that's something that we're starting to gear up for. You have to do that within 6 months, is pass your driving test. Also, before you leave, you want to make sure that you are geared up for your phone working here in Spain. I have a whole separate video on that, as well as switching over bank accounts here in Spain and how to do all that. So I do have a video that touches on that. I can do a whole separate video on those specific items, but you also want to make sure that you know what your permanent address is going to be in the US before you move. These are all kind of last minute items that we did within the last 2 weeks of moving here to Spain. We got our phone switched over to Tello. We established residency in Florida, got our mail forwarding done, and yeah, we had to fly to Florida and get that done before we left. So there was a lot of last minute stuff that we did, which you need to prepare for as well. But yeah, get your house on the market, put it in a price that you want. Don't be desperate, take your time, know that it'll all work out. The market is a little slow right now all over the world. Depending on where you're at, it could be slower. So just prepare for that as well, and just like I said, have a lot of patience. And then yeah, I hope this helps, and I'll share this on the Facebook group. And for those of you who want some more information, or if there's any specifics you want me to deep dive into, let me know, and I'll catch you on the next one. Embrace life. Thanks. Bye.